yes,
Then you're
then
in trouble.
she'd hold it against me.
We are live.
When are you going to do this?
I would think we'd do it.
Remember
What's that?
Council communications?
Actually, when we do the, prior to doing
Oh, okay.
the, it's coming up anyways on the agenda, so we'll just do it right there.
You can do it, Wonder.
I'll have you go down and show you.
What's that?
I said, I'll have you go down.
It's okay.
Okay. Either way.
Either way, you can go down too.
Everybody all set? Council's all set? You all good? I'd like to bring this meeting to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councillor Bickford?
Here.
Councillor Mason?
Here.
Councillor Garrison?
Here.
Councillor Pesky?
Here.
Councillor La Rochelle?
Here.
Councillor Ward?
Here.
Councillor Lunt?
Here.
First item, please.
Public hearing, Vitchler's License, Friends Lodge.
I'd like to open that public hearing for the license for Friends Lodge. Public hearing. It's seeing no interest in the public hearing. We'll close that public hearing. Next item, please.
Audience participation. At this time, those in the audience who wish to address the council may come forward to address items or issues that are on the agenda for this meeting. Please use the microphone at the podium and state your name and address for the record.
It's the table today. The podium broke. The podium broke. That's the temporary podium.
My name's Larry Fillmore. I live in Lisbon. It's my understanding the council realized that there was a violation of the town's purchasing policy occurred at last council meeting. The council approved the renewal of the sludge disposal contract without going out to bid or checking around to see how other towns are handling their sludge. This makes this contract illegal and needs to be corrected. On tonight's agenda is awarding a contract to Marking Inc. for road striping. However, there are no bids attached to the documentation, and formal bids cannot be received telephonically. They must be in writing. So the letter from Mr. Layton states that he sent a copy of the RFP to Lucas Striping. But I contacted Steve Lucas, and he never received the RFP, but would love to bid on this contract. I also contacted Sir Lines a Lot. They did receive the RFP, but opted not to go ahead and submit a bid. I think this should be tabled until properly done. My opinion. I understand that, okay? However, I'd rather have things done right. Okay? I don't understand why the police department does not have a life cycle management program to replace vehicles. This year, they're replacing 2 vehicles and have already replaced 1 motor, 3 vehicles. However, there are only 9 on their active inventory. And next year, they plan on replacing 4. 3 this year, let's go 4 next year. That's 7 out of 9. Okay? That's not a good ratio. We don't have the money to support that. If you want to do the manufacturing of vehicles now, I know most of us drive vehicles that are pretty old. They should last at least 10 years or not 9 years. And so we should be paying for probably 1 a year instead of 3 in 1 year, 4 in the next when we don't have the money. We just don't have the money. And the 2 economic cars, the Fusions that we got, are all tripped out. They cost almost as much as these Interceptors do. Now, why we need 6 interceptors. We don't need these gas guzzlers to go to Lewiston, to go to court. We don't need gas guzzlers to transport prisoners to Lewiston or do administrative work. So why are we not buying cars that are not tripped out with the latest and greatest of everything in this town? We could save ourselves some money by replacing 1 car a year, cutting back the expenses on the packages that they get with it. I know that speed is important for first responders. I got no argument with that. However, we all know that the roads in Maine are a limit your speed in a lot of cases for safety reasons. So I can't see why we need 6 souped-up cars for the town of Lisbon. We don't have the money to support that. If we did, it would be fine. I have no problems with that. We don't have the money. We need to seriously look at these vehicles and have a life cycle management in place before we purchase any more. Thank you.
Anybody else for audience participation?
Dorothy Fitzgerald, longtime resident of Lisbon Falls. I have to agree with Mr. Fillmore on that. I went on the agenda today and pulled up the request for bids for 2 vehicles. One has 123,000 miles. It's a 2006. Another one is a 2009 with only 121,500 miles on it. Cars today are made to last over 200,000 miles. They're made to last more than a few years. I know that the police cruisers get a lot of hard wear and tear, but the town cannot afford this. They need to have better planning, and they need to make do with less. I don't know why we need that many cruisers. There are only, 3 vehicles on the road at a time, plus maybe 4 with the K9 vehicle. Usually 2, but once in a while 3, and 4 with the K9. But I can't see where we need all of those vehicles in the first place. Thank you.
Anybody else for audience participation? Seeing none? Next item, please.
Audience participation response.
Actually, I'll respond back to a little bit of today. Couple different things. That the purchasing and the bidding process, it is quite involved. I disagree that we did anything wrong in a sense in the past. We have reviewed quite a bit. There are due diligence the town does. The council is quite aware of the process that we have in place, and we're not out here just winging it. We are trying to follow the rules the best we can. When it comes to police cars, I mean, this is a subject that is a lot more involved than a 3-minute conversation. To start it off of, yes, we do have a program. It's been in place for some years, and if the town wasn't shortchanging it over the last 5 or 6 years, we probably would be in place. But every year it's long-hanging fruit, so we've been always pulling it off our budget. The downfall was that's bit us in the last couple of years, where we're replacing engines and transmissions and rear ends and having cruisers on the side of the road broken down, which doesn't help anybody in the case of emergency. And as we know, that people in town are real concerned about the 2 or 3 seconds and may be delayed in emergency calls. And those 2 or 3 seconds would be quite heavily if the car blew an engine on the side of the road and when it wasn't able to get there till the wrecker got there. So it is really concerned that we do actually have decent cars in place. Just to highlight a couple of things that some people don't realize is to actually have a patrol person in a vehicle, that vehicle has to be a certain caliber car. It actually has to be a certified vehicle. You are right, we actually do have detectives and fusions. Tricked out, I guess I'd have to know the definition of tricked out, because I believe they're pretty much stock fusions with lights on them. But the process we have in place, the 3 cars this year, 4 cars next year. Larry, you know more about it than I do, because that's something I don't know anything about. I think the council this year has prepared and talked about 2 cars. It was talked about heavily in the budget. We actually had chief came in and did presentations of where we were in the cars, which vehicles were actually causing us more problems, what we need to do to get back onto the program that you were actually saying that we need to have. Those are discussions we had, and these are why we are doing the vehicles we are this year, to get back into that cycle. Our hope is to actually have a more consistent cycle. But one thing we've proved over the last 4 or 5 years is you can actually cut the budget in the police department's line for new vehicles and try to maintain that budget. So just want to make sure everyone is aware that the council has been very well briefed on the police cars. It's been discussed heavily. We actually did look what we had for vehicles, what we, the type of vehicles we need. And it's just something we don't wing off the side of our belt. I mean, it's something to start out, and we actually have a good department head that actually looks at this. And there's been some pretty interesting debate on where we need to be, and I think we're heading in the right direction. And I mean, it's something that we do work on, so I don't think it's something that we actually spend taxpayers' money on wisely with. I think the direction we're going is the right direction, and hopefully we can get back caught up to the point where we do have a regular schedule of changing vehicles, and it would make it a lot easier for all of us. But unfortunately, because of budgets of the last few years, it's really been low-hanging fruit to pull those off the budget. And I guess that's where I'll stop with it, because Chief will be going over the budget on the cars later. He may be able to explain some of the necessary equipment that these vehicles do have. Next item, please.
Consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have any item removed may do so now. Items removed from the consent agenda will be considered next. Seeing none. Order 2013-107 to approve a vitulers license for Friends Lodge and the minutes of July 2nd, 2013.
Entertain a motion.
Make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item, please.
Council orders, resolutions, and ordinances. Order 2013-107, road striping bids.
Brian could not be here tonight, but he sent out 3 requests for proposals and costs. He received 2 back, or 1 back. That's not uncommon. But with this, we go through this every single year. We seem to get 1 bid, and I'm not sure why. Some people don't want to do it. Some of them have to travel quite far, or they're busy. But he's recommending that we go with Lucas Striping.
I seen on his,
Incorporated. That was Markings Incorporated.
Markings Inc., I'm sorry. Yep.
yeah. With that, I see that the bid was based on 16,120. And does it look like he had actually budgeted 16,000 on this item?
Yeah, it's under budget, what we budgeted, so there's some savings there.
Okay, but are we actually just going with the $16,000 figure that was actually budgeted for? It looks like that's what we actually had budgeted.
Well, he
in
said
it.
he's going to adjust the mileage to stay within the budget, so.
Okay. So the exact figure that we're looking to do is it the 16,120 or is it the 16 even?
Looks to me like it's 16, right?
16 even, I would say. So what I would do is I'd entertain a motion to actually give the bid for the striping some markings in for the 16,000. And Ryan's going to adjust the mileage to actually make it stay within that budget.
Do we, according to Mr. Fillmore's comment about Lucas striping, do we know anything that they did get a bid or they didn't? Because I want to make sure that if we're saying we sent it to them, we actually did.
I guarantee we sent them something. So if they didn't get it, I'm not sure why. I can't defend the Postal Service, but we put them all in the mail at the same time. We have a bid list that we go by for this particular job, so.
Is there, I don't see a copy of the bid sent back. Is it in the packet? Maybe I skipped over it.
I don't see it.
The one from that particular,
From Markings?
Yeah, I didn't see it in the packet.
No, it's not in the packet. But I can certainly get you a copy of it if you'd like it. It's an oversight.
I personally would feel more comfortable voting on this with seeing a bid in front of me and also ensuring that Lucas Striping got a bid. I want to make sure that we're being fair and crossing our Ts and dotting our Is.
I think there's a time issue too, isn't there? I mean, we need to get this done before summer's over, and I know our summer is short. I mean, not that I don't disagree with you, but I just, I know that Ryan is diligent, and I'm sure that everything got done the way it was supposed to get done. I'm willing to take that at face value unless we prove otherwise.
I'm not saying I don't think it was done appropriately. I want to make sure that it was done. I want to make sure that it's correct. That's just my 2 cents.
The, a lot of times we actually send out multiple bids. It's even like we're going to see on the cruiser, we could send out a dozen bids, and we may only get 1 or 2 back. It's really not up to the town to actually follow up to find out, why they didn't submit it through, or send some type of notification saying if you receive this, please call, or send it back.
Oh, and I'm not
So,
saying that the town should do that, but if Mr. Fillmore's comment is correct, it's, that's a concern of mine. That's just what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's a concern that you can be, it's definitely your place to have that concern. And I guess at this point in time, I would actually see if council, which way they would like to go, if they'd like to make some motion to actually, to move it forward, or they would actually like to move in a different direction.
I would like to move forward, but keep in mind Councillor Pesky's concerns and make sure that town manager follows up on that for us, because it's a legitimate concern. Like, I just think that it's not I don't think he's guilty until proven innocent kind of thing. So I would prefer to think that it was done correctly, but let's follow up and cross the Ts and dot the Is.
I will make sure everybody gets a copy of that.
So did you make a motion?
I move that we accept the $16,000 bid from Markings Incorporated.
I'll second it.
And I'll just make a note that in the previous years, the last 4 or 5 years, it's been pretty common that we get one bid. There was 1 year, when I first came on, we got another lower bid that actually proved to be very costly for the town for insurance reasons. So, again, this is pretty much very common, what we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. I have 2 motions, the first and second. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Order passed, 5-2.
Next item, please.
Order 2013-108, police cruiser bids.
Chief Brooks will address this and answer questions if you have any.
Sit down tonight, Chief.
Good evening. 7 letters requesting bids were mailed out. 2 responded. I believe in your package you have the 2 bids that we received. Their bids are interesting, that the fact that they are pretty much identical vehicles, right to everything except for the type of light bulb that's in the spotlight. Other than that, everything else is identical on the 2 vehicles. They're obviously souped-up V6s. All of our cruisers are V6s now. They're not V8s. So that's what we've been buying. Started that last year. The Casco bid actually came in a few dollars more on the vehicles themselves than the Quirk bid. However, the Casco bid allowed us greater trade-in value on our vehicles, hence the bottom line difference. Part that's disturbing on the operational aspect for me on this is that we're looking at probably no less than a 2-month wait period by ordering the Casco units, because they have to order them, they don't have them available, where Quirk has them on the lot. And the 2 units that are being replaced both have service job tickets pending at Public Works. We've got a front-end problem with K-9 unit, and of all times, the air conditioner or blower went on the other unit. So it's just the way it's happening. They're older units, and things happen. So basically, throwing it out to council, this is what it is, this is where we are. We can wait 2 months, or we can get them almost immediately. There is a price difference in the bid, and I honestly don't know how to tell you to manage the savings, because we could roll that savings right into maintenance over that time period. So whatever you decide, I'm okay with, really, because I can't, when I wrote this, the 2 cars we were trading, everything was fine, nothing had happened. After I wrote this, I had to put out job tickets on both cars. So that's just the way it goes.
Questions?
And as a matter of fact, on one of the cars, I did ask the mechanics to get us a price on used parts.
Hopefully,
I
great.
said that you should have got you brand new ones.
Questions from council?
Both cars that you're going to be receiving, when you get them here at the PD, are they going to be ready to go, or do you need to do anything else?
We still have to equip them. We have to put, because nothing from the VIC fits the utility.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you have all the stuff, is what I mean? Do you have to get any more?
No, I've got requests out for different vendors for pricing on some of the material to go into it. And as you saw in my letter to the vendors, I requested that in the case of the K-9, that we be allowed the time to completely install the K-9, the new K-9 unit before we traded in the old one, because I just can't go without a K-9 unit for a period of time during the dismantle and then installation process. The other car it's a quicker install. We can live with that changeover time, but not the K-9 unit. What's going from the VIX to the utilities will be the light bars, the radios, the siren unit, the radar units, and other than that, the consoles, the petitions, the K-9 unit inside the K-9 car, all have to be new for those particular vehicles, form fit. And some on the board know for years that we probably still have push bumpers from yesteryear, because we would take them off and straighten them out and paint them and put them back on the new cars. But our Crown Vic push bumpers won't go on these utilities.
Is there any way to do without the 2 cars that are down at, or have tickets for Public Work, to do without them until we get the new ones?
The K-9 car is no. I can't not have a K-9 car for 2 months.
No, the K-9 car is one of the cars that
Yes.
broke? Okay.
Yeah.
Chief, do you think there's any way, it's about a $1,500 difference between the 2 bids. Is there any way that we can find some savings in outfitting the vehicles to help maybe make up for that in order to get the vehicles faster?
What's your current cost to repair the 2 units that are in the shop now?
I looked before I came, and I didn't have any emails from PW today. I think it was a fire truck ahead of them on their maintenance schedule today, so they didn't get to it.
Well, I mean, anyone who's had a car fixed, if you have 2 cars that need fixing and you have $1,500 here, it's almost a wash.
Well, but again, our costs are different
Right.
than the civilian costs. Unless we have to go to an outside garage. But our costs are different.
In your opinion, do you think that I mean, you said you had this happened before you made your original recommendation. Would you change that recommendation today?
No, I wrote all this material, submitted it, and then after it was all gone is when the cars decided it was time to break down. They both went down over the weekend.
So if we waited the 6 to 8 weeks, and then how much longer before those 2 vehicles could be on the road?
Probably 2 weeks,
So we're looking at 3 months before we get our new police cars.
give or take. And again, when we do the installation of the equipment in-house, which again, with the contract service person we have, we save a lot of money on that. To go to an outside company to have these installations done, they could get them done a lot quicker, but we pay quite a bit more money to have it done.
Any other questions, council?
Just one thing, Chief. These are described as interceptor utility vehicles. That's a standard description by Ford, isn't it? There's just standard police units, correct? So
That's right.
They just make it sound good.
This is, right, they have the utility and they have the sedan Interceptor.
Any reason you went with utilities?
More interior space.
Just wondering. We did both
They're all
sedans
wheel-
and utilities. Utilities were cheaper in the long run, at least
Well,
for us. They
We're
came up.
hoping that works out in the long run, but we haven't lived it, but we're
I have.
hoping that happens.
The utilities tend to be cheaper in the long run. All right, just checking. And the souped-up V6, that's a standard, you're going with the standard engine, right?
That's the standard engine in the utility.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
And the new platforms cars have is Ford. One of the reasons it's a sedan and utility isn't much difference from the wheelbase down, it's identical vehicle. From a Ford Taurus to their utility now is, the only thing different is a higher roof, pretty much, when you get to Explorers. And they're both all-wheel drives with the same engine. I had a question, Chief. This is the first time I've ever seen this come across on the fleet, non-retail. Are those warranties true?
You'll have to.
It was
tell me
actually a
what you're looking
page,
at.
actually Leo, it actually sent over, it says warranty information on the non-retail. It shows a 5-year, 100,000 on drivetrain, and 5 years unlimited on warranty, and a 5-year, 60,000 roadside assistance. Is that actually part of that program? Because I don't think we've ever got really much of a warranty on these in the past.
On the, yeah, we get 5-year 100 on the drivetrain.
Is
We
that,
get-
that's
We
new,
get
though.
3-year 36 on all the other knobs and pieces, but
Have we ever got a 5-year, 100,000?
we lost those 2 transmissions just over 100,000 miles.
So those are actual. I mean, those even the 5 years of roadside assistance, not that we'd wait 3 hours for them to come, but I mean.
Well, we
it's-
call the local people and have them reimburse them directly.
Oh, I see how that works. Just interesting.
The feeling.
And what were the tickets you put on to the 2 cruisers? One was for an AC motor?
One was described to me as either the AC or blower unit is gone in it. They didn't know which, it just quit. And the other car is front end, we think it's ball joints.
Which window is that?
That one's the ball joints?
Yeah.
That's a K9 unit.
Entertain some recommendations from council? I mean, it is a tough call. I mean, it's one of those things
It
where
is a
you,
tough call, but I'm kind of going for the quicker ones. Just because the ball joints don't scare me, it's the air conditioning. They can really add up fast.
and unfortunately, if it was just a regular cruiser, we could actually say put the windows down, but unfortunately, a K9 unit, it's pretty hard to do that.
Yeah, you can't do that on the K9 unit.
Be a liability issue.
So the K9 unit is the front end, and a regular patrol car is the air conditioning, right?
Okay,
I thought it was the
Today,
other way around.
yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
I would make a motion to go with Quirk for $49,816 to get the vehicles here right away.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion, and we have a second. All those in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Order 2013-109, MMA election of vice president and executive committee members.
We do this annually as terms come up, and some people new get appointed. The MMA nominating committee for vice president is a 1-year term. Is Marston Lovell from the city of Saco. And then there's 3 director positions for 3-year terms. Jim Chassis, who is a town manager in Boothbay. He, at one time, was a town manager in Livermore Falls. He's a good man. Linda Cohen, who's a counselor for the city of South Portland, and Mary Sabins, who's the town manager for the town of Vassalboro. There's 3 seats available, and 3 people have submitted for those. So you
Can
just
we have
need
some
a-
guidance? Because we actually, none of these people are really actually coming in my radar at all.
Yeah, they don't. The only one I know is Jim from Boothbay, and I would highly recommend him. The other 2, they have good, solid resumes. They've been involved in government and private industry, and
I guess this is actually easier than I thought, because actually vice presidents, there's only 1, and there's actually 1 person nominated, and actually for directors,
I was wondering.
3 in 3 years, so I guess it's actually easier. For some reason, I thought we had picked one of the 3,
oh,
so.
no, you have to
I
pick
would- I
3.
guess I'd make a recommendation to actually, that we actually nominate or actually choose the people that actually have put in their names for the choosing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor? I guess the only difference would be if we had to write in, but I don't
Yeah,
think
we-
they appreciate it at this point, so.
No, order passed 7-0.
Next item, please.
Order 2013-110, Sergeant's Teamsters Local Number 340 contract.
We're going to skip that tonight. We will have an executive session later on, but there will be no decision being made, so it will just be discussion.
All right. Next item, please.
Order 2013-111, Fireworks Ordinance Amendment, first reading. This will be a roll call vote.
Just to explain what this is, one of our citizens who was fairly active during the whole fireworks ordinance questioned the time frame for later. We had 1 PM, and that's less restrictive than the state statute, and we have to correct that, so we're in compliance with state law, and which is 12:30. So it's just a minor adjustment by 30 minutes to be in compliance.
So basically, we're taking our fireworks ordinance and actually making it more restrictive to go in
We're as restricted as the state.
states.
It's in
And
compliance.
that's pretty much the only change.
Yeah, that's the only change. Yep,
It's just changing the times on the days.
that is correct.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll actually entertain a motion to actually, and what this is actually just the first reading, so this will actually come to a public hearing.
On August
So if
5th.
anybody of the public actually has any questions or concerns about the change, or in general, they can actually come to the public hearing and voice their concerns.
I do have a question.
Sure.
I've been hearing a lot of fireworks go off other than the times they're supposed to. Are they catching these people?
I don't know. I have not heard. 2?
I've heard it way more times than that. No, I'm just,
educational time because of the change of
right,
This is the first year.
that's just my point.
Be nice, Gina, be nice.
No, you know how I
So-
feel about
I'd
that.
entertain a motion, and then we can actually go in for discussion after we make a motion.
I move that we change the time for July 4th from 1 AM to 12:30, on Moxie weekend, Friday and Saturday, from 1 AM to 10 PM, and for December 31st, from 1 AM to 12:30, putting it in line with the state.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion? Did you want to bring up any other point, or you're all set? I guess it'd be a roll call
Less
vote.
time spent, the better.
Absolutely.
All right, Counselor Garrison,
Yes.
Counselor Bickford,
Yes.
Counselor Pesky,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Levershell,
Yes.
Counselor Mason,
Yes,
Counselor Lund.
Yes.
And again, this will come to a public hearing at our next meeting, I do believe. Right, Steve? Next item, please.
Other business, town managers report.
Just some quick updates, just on the economic development side. Luigi's, Tracy, and Dennis have been speaking back and forth with them and their representative. They have one of their partners who is heading the whole process, and they're just haven't got around to getting to the building part, but they're coming in to meet us. You have to remember that 2 of the owners are from IRC Roofing, so this is their busy time, except when all the rain we've had in June. But the other partner is a brother-in-law who's an attorney with Skelton, Taylor, and Abbott. But we are working on setting up a time to have them come in and meet with Dennis, Tracy, and myself to help them move that forward. Tonight, Celotex, Don Stanger, is moving rather slowly, but he is expected to have most of the buildings down, I thought, this week, if the weather cooperated, so he can start getting all the steel out of that and then start hauling off material. So he's, I think, on schedule. He said he'd be done somewhere beginning to the mid-August, and hopefully that we'll see that cleaned up and all set to go. There has been a request from one of the planning board chairman to have the council look at a charter amendment for currently the appointment of the chair is restricted to a 2-year period. And he thought it might be advantageous for the council to look at maybe changing that along with some of the other committees if there's a restriction on planning board chairs to allow those committees to vote in the person they would like to have as chairperson even beyond the 2-year period. It's their concern is losing a lot of that knowledge and leadership. So it's something that we'll talk further on before September. Just to Lisbon-Durham Bridge, there's been an awful lot of requests for having a sidewalk put in. I've been requested, if the council so chooses, that I will address a letter to Congressman Michaud, who has said he would step up and speak with public officials in Augusta to try to get a sidewalk put on the bridge when it starts construction in 2014. We have to do this fairly quickly because they're in the design phase, and this is a major shift in the structure. So,
Yep, actually, I was approached quite a bit over the weekend at Moxie. It's amazing what you hear from people at Moxie when they come from Durham and Lisbon, and some of the people were questioning whether or not we had looked further into the sidewalk on the bridge. I did speak to someone that actually has a link with DOT, and they've actually discussed the circumstance, and it's more the idea of not that they wouldn't do it, it's more the idea of, do we need it? And one of the things with the bridge is we've actually had a sidewalk on there since this bridge has been built. Hearing at the meeting that we went to in Durham for, public safety reason and for just having a walkable side of a bridge, I actually thought that, financially it was a burden that we may not need it to. I took a ride this last weekend, it was, down to Bailey's Island and seen a nice new granite bridge they reconstructed down on Bailey's Island, and they have a sidewalk on that, a beautifully constructed sidewalk. It's amazing that you can spend money where you need to get a beautiful sidewalk. So the person that I was speaking to from the DOT basically said that it's more the idea of expressing the need and actually putting the voice out there to have it done. He's looked into the project, the way it's designed right now, of a potentially future adding a sidewalk to the side of the bridge. The engineers say that bridge is constructed so close to the engineering that the bridge would not hold a sidewalk on it if it was built later. That if you want a sidewalk, it needs to be built into the initial format of the bridge. It's nothing you could add on later. So he actually mentioned that if I was to run into any people over the weekend, that I would probably ought to speak. So just as he got done, Misha walked by, so I grabbed him and had a discussion with him. And he said that, if it is a concern and there's enough people in town to have the concern, to forward him a letter, and he would look into it. No one makes guarantees, which we don't expect that, but if this bridge never had a sidewalk, I guess it would be not much of an argument, but there is a sidewalk leading to the bridge. So I think the sidewalk is used. So is it safe one way or the other? I don't know. There's a lot of traffic over that bridge, so I think it's really up to it. I think right now we're at the point that if we don't ask, we will never get it. So let's at least do what we can as a community to actually ask, and then if they prove that it's not warranted or they can't afford it, well then at least we can't say that we didn't try.
Our public safety people have already forwarded a letter to the project engineer, chief engineer for that project, so it'll just be a good follow-up for us to do more.
I guess I'd like to get feedback from council if anybody else had any other discussions about the sidewalk, or, I don't want Steve to have the council represented as a council if it's not the wants or the concerns of the council. I know, in particular
I
meetings,
do.
Gina's voiced her opinion that is as wide as Route 9, and people ride bicycles down Route 9.
Well, my question is this, what's the cost? I was told today that there is no extra cost. That's not what we were told at the meeting. And my other question is, where's the sidewalk going to? It's not a scenic view bridge like the Cribstone Bridge is.
I would argue that fact.
Well-
Because I think we actually have as much scenic view as the ocean.
So I guess I voiced my opinion at the public hearing over in Durham, and I don't know. I just don't know where you go if you walk across that bridge. I'm not quite sure, but that's just my opinion. And is it really a national officials? I almost feel like it's a local state official that you should be dealing with, not a national official.
Well, actually, it's federal funds. It's
Okay.
paying for the
It's federal funds, and basically, the person I was speaking to from DOT basically said that they would be more than happy to engineer a bridge, but it needs to come down from a permission standpoint that they have the ability to do that. So it's not that they don't want to do it, it basically comes down to the idea of funding and the idea of actually the need.
I spoke to one of the men who was there at that meeting, and spoke to him in length, actually, and he told me he was there many, many days, 6 or 7 hours a day, and there are hardly any people that cross that bridge, hardly any. So it's just, I guess it's just the need is, I wonder what the need is, and I wonder what the cost is. That's my two biggest questions.
But I think, I mean, just having attempted to walk across the bridge and decided not to, part of it has to do with the state of the bridge. If you're a pedestrian, as a driver, I go across it without trying to look at anything other than the road directly in front of me. So as a pedestrian, it's falling apart right at the edges. I wouldn't walk on it in its state, so that could be part of it. The other thing that I think about is the fact that how many, I wonder how many really good sidewalks to walk on we had in Lisbon 35 or 40 years ago. Not as many as we have now. And whether or not Durham goes in that direction, if we don't put a sidewalk there, then there will not be a sidewalk. It's just not going to happen, because the bridge will be there for, 50 to 75 years. So in terms of opening that up for an option for the two towns to have a connection for walkers, I think that that's a positive direction. I don't want the town of Lisbon to incur any additional costs. Nobody here can afford that. So I'm totally on board with, if it's going to cost us money, then I don't want to do it. But when I think about, the possible benefits, I think that it's a good thing. I really wouldn't walk on it right now. You can pay me to.
Oh, come on.
It's creepy.
Any other comments from council?
I have to agree with Lisa. I don't like driving across it, much less walking. And if we don't ask, we aren't getting a sidewalk. That's a given. If we don't ask, we aren't getting it. If we ask, we still may not get it, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
I go along with him.
I mean, there's one there now, because that was my first thing I was going, there's one there now, why not put it back?
Yeah, I agree with Greg. It doesn't hurt to ask for, if the ability is there, and if they say no, well, at least we tried.
One more, Dylan.
Dylan's being quiet. You're never quiet, Dylan. What's up? Deep in thought.
I don't know. I have mixed emotions about it. I personally get a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, and I haven't got a phone call, I haven't got an email, I haven't got stopped in Food City or Rite Aid regarding the bridge. And people seem to find my phone number, so if they're really concerned, I think they would reach out and ask me.
Okay.
But on the flip side, I look at it, well, who knows what's going to happen where the mill is? What if there's a development thing, we want connection to Durham? I don't know, I really have mixed emotions about it.
If someone said they could put a sidewalk and you wouldn't have to pay anything, it would just be part of the federal money, what would you say?
Well, it is coming from me, but in a different
Yeah, it
pocket.
is.
Exactly.
It's money that's gonna be spent regardless, so I
Pocket that
guess it all
already got
depends if
empty.
it's on your bridge or somebody else's, I guess, so. So is there a consensus from the council that we actually at least send a letter saying that we would like to actually have it looked into further, that's all? I mean, that's
Not me.
not you.
Can I do a straw poll?
We could do a straw poll.
I don't,
Do a straw poll.
I don't know if it should say the council, maybe that citizens have requested.
They say
I don't
we're the
really-
representatives of the
I don't really
citizens, so.
feel,
Yeah.
I don't really feel, I don't know, I don't feel that we should put, that we recommend it, because
Well,
think
I don't
we
know,
have to,
but
yeah.
didn't we listen to public safety arguments, arguing for a sidewalk also? And I thought, I mean, convenience aside and future pedestrian traffic aside, I thought the public safety, points were important.
Chief Brooks sent a letter to the chief, to the head of that project with very good comments about public safety and a concern that's coming from somebody who's been in the field for 39 years. I should listen.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just briefly,
You may.
that letter, I brought to the state's attention that, I pretty much told them that their design without a sidewalk would legally require pedestrians, which they're supposed, and I quoted section title, I can't remember it right now, if I know this was coming up, I thought it would be, but there's a potential to have pedestrians walking on both sides of that bridge without a sidewalk, because a pedestrian is supposed to walk facing traffic, okay? So without a sidewalk, granted, not a lot of people cross that bridge, but the potential is there. If someone's coming from Durham, they're gonna be facing traffic coming into the falls, and if someone's coming from the falls into Durham, they're gonna be on the other side. So you potentially have pedestrians crossing a bridge without a sidewalk on both sides of the road. The second thing I brought to their attention is that the configuration of our current sidewalk would require all pedestrians in Lisbon Falls to cross the road where the bridge hits the land in order to legally cross the bridge to Durham. So we would have to, if we have a sidewalk, I guess we better have a crosswalk on our side of the bridge. So there are flaws in their design regarding pedestrian safety. I was very polite in my letter, give them section and title, name of the law and everything, and this is something I felt they had to address. Do they have to have a raised sidewalk? No, they don't have to have a raised sidewalk. They can have a sidewalk that's divided with pillars or whatever they want to do, like they've done in other parts of the state. But I think it's very important for pedestrian safety, if it's high traffic or not, they need to address the need for a designated marked sidewalk on that bridge. Or we're going to be putting up crosswalks and potentially having pedestrians walking on both sides of the bridge at the same time.
So if you want, let's do it just a straw vote, just to those in favor of sending a letter of our concern. All those in favor of that? All those opposing? So noted.
So noted. Okay. August 20th, I've sent out a date to get confirmation from Rick Green and the Facilities Committee and some of the school committees to meet with the steering committee of the 196 master plan, along with planning board members and council. That's the second meeting for us in August. I'll keep the front end very light. Rick is supposed to get back to me once he talks to Tracy. And she was in the building today, I should have grabbed her, but, so just to keep that in mind, and I'll make sure to get confirmation on that, but it'll give us a chance, which is something that came up at the meeting last week, that give us a chance to address how the school facilities committee fits in with what we're trying to do along the corridor, so we're all on the same page. Also, in September, I'm going to be looking, we're going to, Fern and I have talked a little bit about this, to really start budget discussions before the school gets into their budget deliberations. They usually start September and October. I'd like to have the council and the school committee sit down for the upcoming 2014-2015 budget discussions to really lay out a game plan for where we're going, because as we head into that new budget, our predicted loss in revenue sharing this year was 285, next year it's 329. So it's not getting better. So we need to plan accordingly. And July 25th, if anybody's interested, Senator Angus King's staff will be here. All the congressional representatives come and have their staff sit. They'll be here at 2 o'clock to 4 p.m. if anybody would like to speak to them and Senator King's staff. I'd like to have Dennis Douglas, our code enforcement guy, get up and talk about his success with his LJAL team this year, as well as a project that they are working on over behind LES.
Well, Lisbon Junior Athletic League. Unfortunately, the president couldn't be here tonight. He's in Connecticut on work, so that fell on my shoulders. Just a quick brief history. LJAL, again, Lisbon Junior Athletic League, was founded in 1970 by Wynn and Duann Smith, who are still residents and active members of the community today. It's an independent nonprofit volunteer organization. Current president, Tony Austin, longtime resident. And the vice president, Cal Ripken, is myself. We work with boys and girls ages 4 through 16 in our program. We currently have over 350 kids registered in our program right now, which is actually one of the largest in the state for baseball and softball. 33 paid sponsors, at $250 a piece, which is a major portion of our funding. We charge $35 for T-ball, $50 for all of the other programs, which is Farm League, Cal Ripken, Babe Ruth, and softball. We're very active in writing grants and fundraisers for the program. We also award a $1,000 scholarship each year for one boy and one girl who's contributed to our program throughout the years. We donate $500 to $750 to the school each year for the use of their facilities. We donate to MTM for the use of their meeting rooms. Thank you, Mark. We support and work with the Boy Scouts and also work with Aspiring Eagle Scouts, which I believe is the highest badge.
Yes.
And help them obtain their badge. They do projects for us and whatnot, and in turn they gain their Eagle Scout. We have worked with the Lewiston Vocational Program to construct dugouts at the LES baseball fields. We started a winter baseball clinic on weekends and do pitchers and catchers clinics on weeknights prior to the baseball season. It's the second year, which has been a very big success for us. We have a spring carnival, complete with a parade, kids' activities. This year we had dunk tank, kid games, jump houses, skills competitions, and baseball and softball games that go all day and night on virtually all the fields. I think our last softball game wrapped up at midnight this year, so we keep that busy during that weekend. And we started a website which is actually developed quite well, ljal.org. It's worth a visit, and you can see all the things that we are doing. Some of our accomplishments, a lot of them in the last 2 years. Again, we've constructed dugouts at LES. We built a batting cage at LES. We put up a snack shack where we serve hot dogs, hamburgers, fries, cold drinks. This year we got new permanent fencing for the outfield and the backstops. We built a 16 by 28 storage building so we could bring all of our equipment and store it right at the LES facility. We completely redid the 2 ball fields to make them regulation with permanent bases. We continue to work on the school fields, assisting them, dragging, lining, permanent bases, and whatever they need, we try to help out. We just recently constructed 2 doors on the new garage at the high school, the lean-to portion. It was LJL put the doors up and built them for them. Unfortunately, the past president, I'm sure a lot of you know Norm Hall, passed away 2 years ago. After he did, we put together a crew and put a new roof on their house to assist them in some problems that they weren't able to pay for. And right now, we're currently in the process of constructing 2 to 3 new ball fields in order to bring the T-ball program to the LES facility to keep everyone under one roof. Some of our future projects are the 3 new ball fields, if we can fit them, 2 if not 3. That's already underway right now. 2 more batting cages for the new fields. Electronic scoreboards, which looks like we just received a sponsorship for those. Nighttime field lighting, if we can talk Kelly's into it. Professional grade infield dirt and manicure. This company out of Monmouth does sports fields all over New England. They do professional fields. We're under contract with them, if it goes right this fall, to bring our fields up to actually official dirt, level graded, manicured. We'll have 2, facilities over at LES that are, in tip-top shape. Expanding the snack shack, we're already outgrowing it, which has been a tremendous source of funding for us in the last couple of years, year and a half. And we have somebody right now that's already underway for doing parking lot striping to assist with adult ed, handicap parking, and reserve sections over at the LAS facility. We're going to stripe all the parking lots and all the location around there. And bleachers, some of our future projects we're working on now. And our goals is to host a district tournament in 2014, and with any luck, be in a condition where we can host a state tournament in 2015 or 16. So that's what we're trying to get to, and that again will bring a lot of funding to our program and bring a lot of people to Lisbon. And proud to say the U12 Cal Ripken boys took third place in the States this year. We took out the Rat Nation, which has been a very difficult thing to do for many, many years. But people don't know it. It's one little town of Lisbon against a town that puts 5 or 6 schools together to make one team. And we always come in second to them. This year we beat them twice in a row. Unfortunately, they were hosting the state tournament this year, so they went anyways, and they ended up winning the states. So the year we could have knocked them out, they won the states, but we've kind of developed a good relationship with them, and it was fun for everybody. But it was quite an achievement for the boys. And our U9 kids, we actually have enough kids to put together a U9 team. They compete in the states this weekend, so good luck to them. So.
Thank you very much. Talking to Dennis the other day, I mean, it's just amazing some of the funding they were able to get to do, because that is quite a project. If you go through the school in the old Lisbon Elementary School out back, it's quite a project. It's quite an undertaking. It's not a small project they're doing. It's actually quite a large project. So if anybody sees it happening out there, it's a good project and it's underway. And when do you think that project will be done? Will that be done this year, you think, or? Good question.
Yes. We'd love to see the new T-ball fields playable for next season.
Awesome.
Right now we're cleared. We're doing some dozer work, grading work, hopefully bringing the fill in, and then it will be a lot of work to get them into playable fields. But continue going right through the fall and into spring.
Thank you.
Just one last thing. For those who went to the Moxie Festival with Dennis up here, he and Don Fellows and some of the members of the planning board manned a booth with all of our master plan documents and photographs, and we got a lot of curiosity. I was there for all morning and part of the afternoon, and we had a lot of people visiting, asking questions, and giving us their opinions on what we should be doing. So it was an interesting day, and I'll let Gina talk about Moxie here.
In a little
That's all
bit.
I have.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Next item, please.
B, MTM's Walk of Life Walkway Project.
This is a project that Lynn and Mark have started, and council would like to hear what they're trying to do.
Lynn lost her voice working this weekend in the Snack Shack. The Lisbon Recreation Department Senior Program is looking to receive support from the council to continue planning a brick walkway in front of the MTM Center. The walkway would complement the new signage. It would give a positive first impression of those coming to the facility. The bricks would be sold at a price that will not only cover the cost of the bricks, but would cover the entire project. Our vision is to have this project ongoing for many years. People who would like to honor a relative or a friend could do so by purchasing an engraved brick and have it placed on the walkway. Bricks can be purchased at $75 each. If this project is approved, we will have to start once we sell 100 bricks. Lynn just passed out a temporary design that we have from a local contractor.
Any ideas, any questions from council at all? I actually had him come forward because I actually had seen Steve had put it through, and a couple of different reasons. One, I think it's always good to any projects like this, that it's always very visible and well-known what's happening, and that way there it could help support it even from council or from town. So even with the new ball fields, it's one of those things that's always nice for the town to know what's happening, and a lot of it, it's a lot of good things happening. A lot of people, when people drive by good things, they actually think that it's coming out of their tax money, and a lot of the neat projects happening in town really are not. They're actually self-funded or from donations. So, and this would be one of them. Now, you actually have got a cost as far as to do the whole project, so it's you pretty much have it priced out, so it would actually work out if you sold the bricks that you plan.
There's still a lot of work that needs to be done as far as cost. We have some cost estimates, and I think we have a high range, and Lynn was making some phone calls today, and we have somewhere kind of a low range, but there's a lot of details to be worked out, and so if you want, we can come back later with more information. We still a lot of work to do with selling 100 bricks at $75 each. A lot of work.
You'd be surprised, though, and you really would. I mean, some of that stuff, actually, it's a neat way to honor somebody if it's something that's gonna be surrounded by something really nice, and it is amazing that, there's just a small park there, a small bench.
Very small.
But, very rarely you go by there's not someone sitting on it. I mean, usually it's pretty well used. I mean, all hours of the day and night, but I mean, there's always someone there hanging out, which is good. I mean, it's a beautiful location, so. Any questions from council at all?
Yeah, I just got one real quick. I think this is a wonderful project. I think it will add a lot of value to MTM. You mentioned the funds would go to the senior center, is that correct? Or the seniors?
Well, this actually isn't a fundraiser for us. Basically what it is, it's a beautification project. We're looking at putting all the money we receive from selling the bricks into that
Okay.
front area with the bricks, buying the bricks. And if you look at, you can see some shrubs and some, I don't know, some flowers and things like that. That's part of the project.
Kind of psychedelic, yeah.
Waiting fountain, penny pitching
Yeah, it's not-
fountain, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's self-funding. It costs money that you'll be raising to pay for it, so.
Right.
I've been pushing Mark to do some things in front where he's had people driving up into where the area gets all muddy and stuff, so this is just a good extension of what we're looking at, making that whole entryway real attractive for the community.
We've had a lot of compliments from the sign that was put up there. It's a beautiful sign, and we're just, this is something that we don't have to do. It's not required, but it's something that we want to do, and we have the support from the senior folks over there, and Lynn wanted to take on this project, so hopefully by this time next year, we'll have something started.
Any other questions for council? No, I think it's a great idea. I think it'd look really nice, and it's inexpensive. I mean, just doing, looking and pricing brickwork and walkways like this it's not a very inexpensive project by any means, so, but hopefully you get enough people to step forward, and I think you'd be surprised if you put it out there. It's $75, but it's something that's gonna be there for quite some time, so especially if they have it engraved, and so.
Would you set up a separate account for this to hold this money separate? And
Absolutely.
then, you don't want to sell half the bricks and then you find you can't sell the rest and, so you got to refund everyone's money. kind of thing.
Absolutely. In fact, I was waiting for that question to be asked. If we don't sell 100 bricks, then we'll refund all the money and come up with a different idea.
How big are the block? What size?
They're 4 by 8.
4 inches by 8 inches.
4 feet.
I know.
Big engraving.
That's a casket. I'm just kidding.
If there's no other questions from council, thank you again. We appreciate the opportunity to have you come in.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
you.
And Lynn?
Good luck with it.
Yeah. Next item, please.
Appointments, Order 2013-112, Trail Commission resignations, 2.
We actually have 2 resignations. We actually have Noyce Lawrence, and we actually have Richard.
Richard Neto.
Richard Nato actually had put in his resignation also. I actually have the letter from Noyce here. I was actually hiding at my house because I was hoping that he would forget about it and not remember the idea that he did give it to me. I could do that. You can do that? Noyce came tonight. I asked him to come because Noyce has been on the trail committee. You remember how long you've been on that, Noyce?
Well, I think Steve might know because, how long, Steve? 15 years maybe? Dick LaLoche and I joined together in about 15 years.
Yeah.
I think it's long enough.
Long time. And again, I want Noisy to come in because, Noisy has actually been a staple in the community, and he's actually done a lot of good things. And this is just one of the things he's been active in over the years. He actually still enjoys taking care of his flowers, and if you don't see him, you go out first thing in the morning, you will find him down the bottom of Route 9 by 196 out there watering and take care of flowers. And he does a wonderful job, and definitely is if we had a community full of Noiseys, we'd be all set because we'd have a beautiful place and everything would be well taken care of. So I got a small plaque for you, but it's almost kind of too bad because it's really hard to actually give the recognition that someone like you to put the amount of time that you have into something like that and be passionate about it because everything you do helps a lot. And Going back to the Moxie, I mean, some of the original meetings, and there's just a lot of things in this town wouldn't be what they are today if there wasn't people like you. So we really appreciate Noyce, and it kind of saddens me to take your resignation and actually accept it, because it is just one more small part that you're not taking part in. But I do appreciate the time that you have put in, so.
Well, I'm glad I'm finally getting a little respect, like Roger gave me. And really, it's not just me on the trail. There's a lot of people involved. Steve was one of the originals.
Absolutely, yep.
And you councilors and councilors before you were very supportive. And the townspeople who voted the seed money on 3 occasions, enabling us to get the grants for 3 sections of the trail. And Ryan Layton, he was a big mover in that trail, especially the Androscoggin River Trail, which ran into a lot of problems. Thanks to him, he got them straightened out. So the trail's a good thing, and I'd like to compliment you, Bernie, on the float you put in the parade.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of parades, as you know, and your float is one of the best. Thank you. What do you want to give me?
I got something for you. No money today, Noyce, sorry.
You got to step up.
Come on up.
Noyce.
This is actually really, come on up. You're not shy, you never were before. And again, this is, very simple. It's just a letter of appreciation for Noyce for being a part of the Trails Committee since the birth, and really sad to not see your name on that committee, but I know you're still going to be active with everything else that you do, so.
Well, you know, when you mentioned, hoping I'd forget it, I gave you the resignation. I almost did that. Until I was watering the plants, and this kid comes around sideways. And the automobile was texting.
It wasn't me, okay.
No, he almost went down. I said, it's time to get out. I mean, I used to be able to jump those guys.
The orange vest does help.
Nice.
I don't know if people know it, but we almost adopted you. You know that.
Okay, gentlemen,
When we
pose,
had
please.
twins, and my wife, she was looking after me, was she good? And I was anyway, she says, "You gotta look."
So if there's any faults with me, it's actually Noyce great.
Pose, please.
Thank you. Noyce.
Yeah, thank you for always.
Ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Done.
Don't forget it. So if you're going down Route 9, first thing in the morning, you see someone kind of in the road, it's Noyce, so don't hit them. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people that are concerned, like sometimes I don't wear that fluorescent vest, and they stop, and George also stopped, he made me stop. He went home and got his vest for me. He's afraid someone's gonna get me. That was nice.
We thank you, and again, I mean, that is a calling out for people to help join committees, because Noyce has definitely put his time in, and we'd like to see people follow in his footprints and actually keep helping. So, again, thank you, Noyce. Again, it's really hard to actually give you something simple to kind of pay you back for the time you put in, but you can hang it somewheres, or,
Thank everybody for all the help along the way, it was great.
thank you, Noyce. And thank you, Ray, for putting up with him for doing all this stuff, right?
The committee doesn't realize, he doesn't know where the computer is.
No.
He don't know where I answer often.
Yeah.
I read them and I answer them, and then I try to remember to tell him, oh, by the way, I told so-and-so.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny.
It's been fun.
There's a woman behind every successful man.
Absolutely.
Sure.
All right, well, so again, with a saddened heart, I'd like, and again, Richard actually is a very active part of the community too, so we don't want to do anything less for him, because actually he's always been very active in the community. So, again, with saddened hearts, I guess I'd make a motion to actually accept the resignation of both Noyce and Richard for the Trails Committee.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? See, this is something I'd vote no on, right? I mean, knowing race, but you can't do it, so.
So if we vote no, it doesn't make any difference.
That doesn't make a difference. Thank you, I appreciate you coming tonight, Noyce. Next item, please.
Counselor Communications.
I know Gina has something to say, but no.
We had Moxie this past weekend, and it was a hot weekend, but it was a great weekend. I just want to thank everybody involved. The committee put in a lot of hard work I want to thank Public Works, Police, all the town entities. The town looked great. Everything went well from the beginning of Friday to the end of Sunday. I was able to attend the car show, which I've never attended, and that was amazing. My husband's a musclehead from way back, and he was pretty interested, and he really enjoyed it. So the parade was great. We had a few little glitches here and there, but with thousands of people in one area, between the road race, which had over 700 runners this year, between them and us, there were lots of cars in that one area. David probably can attest to that. And it's just such a great time when it's community. It's just a bunch of folks out there enjoying themselves, and I always enjoy it. I'm always the last vehicle out of Capitol Avenue, and I always enjoy it because as I drive along the way, I get really kind of melancholy, and I hate for it to be over, but it's always fun to see people along the way that yell to you, run out to you, give you a hug, thank you, and just that sense of community is there. And it's kind of like Christmas, you know, how you have that whole feeling of Christmas. Well, it's the same thing with Moxie. Everybody is talking to one another and conversing, and I got to see Noyce and Ray actually at the car show. We talked for a long time, and so it's always fun. And we started planning today. We had our post meeting. Roger was there, and we're already planning for next year. As the parade chairman, I have already gotten calls of other towns in other states that want us to come and represent Moxie in their parade. So it's a great promotional tool for us, and we're considering that. But we've had folks call, give us ideas for themes for next year. We've had vendors call that want to come back for next year. So obviously, the town of Lisbon and the Moxie Committee is doing something right. And thank you. Thank you to the citizens that are there that participate, and thank you to everybody that helped out. It was great. We're very happy with the outcome. Thank you. Thanks.
You can sleep now.
Excuse me?
You can sleep now, right?
Yes, I can try. It was several nights that it didn't happen. But.
Any other councils?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Town Council and the Lisbon Police Department for allowing us to have a very successful charity ATV ride around town. And Chief, I'd like to have you give Mr. Tapley a very special thanks. He really made it work. He did. He's like one of the guys. And it really worked good for us, and I was real happy to have him. And that's all I get to say. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just got a couple of things. So, not as an upbeat note, but I'm sad to see Noyce and Richard leave the Trails Committee. But thank you to both of them for their service, not only to the community, but to the citizens as well. The trail is something that people come for from other communities. So thank you, Noyce, for your hard work that you have put into it. And then second thing is Moxie. So thank you from the Police Department and Public Works, Fire, Town staff, the Moxie Committee, everyone. It was really great. I enjoyed it. A lot of great feedback from people in the crowd. So it's just an overall great success, and can't wait for next year. So thank you for everybody that helped out with that.
I have a couple of things, and I'll start with Moxie because I think this is the first year that I really had a lot of fun. I didn't even get to go to the parade because I had to work, but I was there beforehand, and I saw, when I was driving into town at about 5:45, 6 o'clock in the morning, I could see chairs already on the side of the road. So I thought that spoke really highly of what everybody looks for and hopes to see at the Moxie Festival, and everything I heard went in that direction. I also wanted to mention that I know that the bench that Mrs. Furbish dedicated to her husband that's over on the trail is really beautiful, and it was a generous donation and a generous gift, and it's beautiful. It looks just right on that trail. I had a chance to stop into the town office and talk with the our new Economic Development Director, Tracy, and with Diane, our department head over at the library, and we talked about the library project with the career development over there. I then went over to the library to take another look at the improvements in the career development room there, and it's really great. And Diane is such a great driving force for that project, and she really is so invested in making sure that the library is a good resource for people trying to move their careers forward who don't have the resources to go outward to other places. And I'm really glad that she identified that problem and that we have the chance to take advantage of this grant and help people. It's really amazing, and anyone who gets the chance to, it looks beautiful down there, and it's a small, like seminar type room, but it's also a multi-use room. And so she's sort of making sure that they take advantage of it all the time, not just when they have career projects there. So that will be starting up in early August, from what I understand. And I'm excited to see it move forward and help people in town. So that's all I have.
I'd like to give special thanks to all the guys from Public Works who came by on the Thursday before Moxie Day and helped us move the books for the book sale. They really could have got that done without them. They really did a great job moving all those books from where they were stored over by the Public Works place over to the MTM and unloading in that horrible heat then. So that was a big help, and I really appreciate all the help, guys.
Hopefully you didn't have many books to hold back, right?
I don't know how many they had to haul back, but I think it was a lot less than they had to haul there in the first place.
Good deal.
She did well.
Appreciate that. Again, same thing on Moxie. I mean, unfortunately, there's as many people that get to see the parade and actually work in the parade, there's just as many people out actually working in public works and public safety around the edges, trying to make sure it happens, because it is quite an undertaking. So I do want to thank everybody that's involved in Moxie from the town, and for the volunteers and people that went, because to me it was a pretty good noise. I've had a lot of people say it was a good parade, a semi-good, really good, the best. I mean, on a cigar rating, what was the parade this year?
This year, I give it a high rating of 1.5 stories.
Ooh, I can get two.
The two cigar parade, of course, was the Lisbon's 200-year celebration combined with Moxie Days, and that was probably the biggest, longest parade on the universe ever. It was 3 miles long. It took 2 hours to go by one point, and a lot of people put it together. And I sat with Spencer Stewart watching it, and I get tired of watching it. I got sick of it. No, it's really nice, and I'd give it a story and a half, maybe way up there.
Good.
Way up there.
We got some education there. One of them.
And I had trouble too when we put them together, was the gaps. But you can't help that. You have little kids doing the dance thing, and then the shrine going, running over people with motorcycles. I mean, that takes time to get bodies off the street.
Yep.
Don't.
Thousands.
And one of the biggest ones. Yeah, I thought.
It was, I was behind Gina at the end of it there, and you know, people were still, you know, deep.
Yeah, yep.
Up to the Midtown area.
Yeah.
And then there's a little gap there in the gully, but then it starts right up again, and it's all the way.
Yeah.
And the Main Street area
Yeah.
is what it is. But up around Midtown, I don't know how many thousands just in the Midtown area.
You know, Moxie is something very special for this town, and we should never, ever let it go.
And I don't call that intersection Capitol Ave 196 anymore. That's, on Moxie Day, that's Cavity Corner.
Yeah, you got it.
Because the parade people just can't wait. When they get up at 196, that candy's a flying.
Yeah.
Right there. And it's like Cavity Corner.
It is interesting. And the reason I mentioned that, the noise, is because one of our Moxie meetings this year, they were actually saying from the original, some of the Moxie parades, they would judge a parade on how many cigars they could smoke during the parade. So it actually was a 1 cigar, a 2 cigar, 1.5. So to get a 1.5, I think we did pretty well. I mean, that's
That's an excellent parade.
kind of unique thing. It's something you only see in a small town, that's all. So again, thank everybody that participated in Moxie. The other thing I just want to touch base on is something that's been going on for quite some time, and the 196 master planning, multiple meetings. This has gone on for quite some time. And we're really down, not to the end of it, but some more of the public input of what direction we need to go. And we're at the point now where we actually have a lot of neat ideas. We see a really good direction on what the town wants. But part of our last meeting was trying to figure out, if we had funding, where would we put it to make the most biggest bang for the buck in Lisbon? And if we had a lot of funding, what would we do to make this town exactly what we wanted? And you really got to have the dream to make it ever happen. So, and one of the things that I had brought up is we really hadn't taken the school and some of the other big financial parts of our town into this, because I mean the school is actually looking at doing a lot of changes. They have kind of a long-term plan for a new gymnasium, and I think we're going to have a meeting coming up, and the one Steve was talking about is to really get in a room and actually have everybody, not just the town, the 196, but actually have the school, the water department, anybody in the next 5 to 10 years that's looking to spend a substantial amount of money to actually improve the town, to put it in all one room on one wall so we can actually see what potentially we could do and what we have out front of us. I know some of the school projects, I do some on the facilities committee, the new gymnasium and the performing arts center, and there's a lot of neat ideas, and it's been a lot of time and a lot of money already spent to try to move this stuff forward. We actually have a town that actually has one of the better track teams in the state, but unfortunately probably the worst track in the state, that people have been working on for 10 years to put together to raise funds for a track. I think we need to take all these dreams that people have, not just dreams and necessities, and actually move them forward. And this isn't just simple things. This is, the idea of the talk. We've always had talk about we don't need 2 fire departments, we need just 1 central fire department. There's just a lot of things that we've been talked about over the years that we really just need to put out there and try to figure out, is this what the town wants? And if this is what the town wants, how do we fund it? And what avenues we have to do that? And I think the only way to do it is actually to get it out there. So our next meeting coming up, I think we'll have it well advertised, but if you actually have any things that you've seen in this town that you thought should have happened 10 years ago that actually haven't been talked about in this plan, step forward and really make those recommendations, because unfortunately, a lot of things like the track, we're going to get a new track someday, but it's just you can't, it never really seems like we get the momentum to make it happen. And a lot of the new projects need to be community-based, not just school-based, meaning that, the community buys into putting a new track, so it's just not used for track team, but used for, citizens to go walk at night or to exercise on. And so, I mean, there's a lot of neat things that need to be done. So again, I'm just putting, I guess, the word out there for the next meeting. If you do have, some of the 196 stuff was kind of dry about, zoning and build standards, but this part of it really ought to be looked at and have people bring forward their ideas. We know we can do it, because, I mean, it was how many years did they work on the Campus Avenue building for what that would want to be? Visioning back, 10 years ago or more?
Well, no, it wasn't quite that long. It was
Yeah.
when I first came on council, so probably 7 years ago, I
years
guess.
ago.
It was 4 years or so before we really got a vision, I guess.
And if you drive by the old grammar school to me, but the old high school
it's
for some,
great.
and,
Yeah.
the brick building, I don't care what you want to call it, it's a beautiful building today, and it's actually being used, and it's being used for good reasons. And if you go back to look at some of those original meetings, that was really some of the visions that people had back then. And it can happen, it just, you got to get the right people in place to make it work. So, again, I'll leave it as that, thank you, and hopefully we can see people attend and give their opinions on where that needs to go. Next item, please.
Executive session, Order 2013-113, to go into executive session per 1 MRSA, Section 4056D, labor negotiations, sergeants, Teamsters, Local Number 340.
Entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? There will not be a vote, right?
There won't be a vote afterwards, and we shouldn't be here all that long, so.
No, so there will not be a
We're
vote.
almost there.
Thank you. We'll do it right here.
Yeah, we'll do it right
Couple
here.
minutes.
I'm going to just go through where we are with all the things that we've agreed to, and then it's really monetary at the end of it.
Steve, why don't I email and/or print out a copy of that picture from it now and get it to him?
Okay, sounds good.
Yes.
Thank you, Miriam.
Yeah. She'll, yeah.